I'd like to open a special meeting of the Fairport Industrial Development Agency on May 21st, 2022. Call that meeting to order. We have they said it's a special meeting for the purpose of 3 short items. So we will start with those old business items, and the first one is the Thomas Creek Boardwalk. We've received bids, and so we'll have a report from Tom Molansky and Martha, I believe, on the contract, the review of those bids that we received on that. So I guess, Tom, you want to start it off? And just cover it?
Well, yeah, the bids were due last Friday, May 20th. I was here at 3 o'clock to receive bids. We did receive one bid from Wayside Contractors, and Tom will review that.
Okay, short and sweet. Unfortunately, we only got one bid, but the fortunate thing is Wayside Construction is very familiar with the site. They did face the butterfly garden out there, and a number of other projects, and the rehab of the observation deck. So they're well aware of what's going on. We had no issues with them during construction and such, and I thought the bid was favorable. The estimate that we did was just around $100,000. They came in at 110. If you recall, the fluctuation and everything that's going on is well within reason. We're confident in their skills to perform it and to administer it. And I'm open for questions if you want to go into real detail. There was one oversight, just so you guys are aware. As you guys probably know, John left us, and I jumped on and picked the project up after that. But on the bid tabulation that we did, we added the thresholds at both locations, and that was not included on the bid tabulations. I reached out to Paul Cervello from Wayside. He did say that, yeah, I saw that, but it was too late to ask a question about it. I asked him for a quote. He provided that quote and added it into the, what I'm asking is, the original bid is $109,680. He gave me a quote, which is attached here, for $850. So if the board chooses to approve this, it would be for the total amount of $110,530, and we would process that, figure out how to process that.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
do we have a timing for this work? How quickly are they going to do it?
They're supposed to start and initiate the project within, I think, 2 weeks. You're looking at, but the actual time frame to complete it was, I think, the end of September.
9:30.
Right?
Yeah, we could have, and if I remember, you suggested we do that, just track where to not put somebody under a really tight schedule with the market being what it is today, to make it more attractive.
But it's all done by September 30 anyways.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. And we double checked the welded wire mesh that is available. We can get it, and the rest of it's pressure treated.
Thank you.
Tom, what I would suggest for the thresholds is that really be issued as a post-bid addendum and as a change order, as opposed to the original contract, since it was,
Right.
We only have one bidder, so it doesn't matter if there's
Exactly.
anybody to challenge that. However, I think just to keep things clean, it should be a post-bid addendum.
Okay.
I will say Paul did provide a check. I believe the amount was, Lily, was it $5,500 as the?
As his bid bond,
Mhm.
his bid deposit.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions from the board?
Looks like a good deal to me.
Yeah, it was within close to the budget that we had talked about.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm sure we all wish there was 2 or 3 folks here, but as far as bids, but it's close to the forecast.
And it's a contractor that's Tom laid out. We're familiar with. He knows the project. He knows what's expected of him. Yeah. There's not going to be change order stuff coming back in because, well, I didn't know.
Based on what he did in the first 2 phases.
is it worth an ask to Wayside to see if they could bump up the end time? And just an open ask to see if they would be able to get it done sooner?
Yeah.
Understanding fully, we've set the expectation. I'm just curious if they had the capability to do so and would be willing to do so. It'd be nice to get it done sooner.
And I think
Well,
what
doesn't the
happens-
bid require them to start work? within-
Yeah, but that can be as simple as a mobilization.
Okay.
I spoke to him yesterday, and he did say that this project fit in very well with regards to his workloads and such.
And I think that probably contractually, once we enter into the contract, there generally is language that within 2 weeks, they have to submit a proposed construction schedule.
Right.
And then that opens the door to negotiate, for just what you're talking about then. I think that's probably contractual. that's
There
in
is.
there. Everybody good with that? Okay, motion to award, anyone?
I'll make the motion to award the work as proposed here.
On a second. Okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Thanks. Great, thank you, Tom.
Yep.
Yeah, well,
We'll be in touch. Moving on to just a couple of other items to follow up from prior meeting. You can see that the proposed Steel Rail Festival in July, we did obtain information that the neighbor to the west, Doug Calabrese, is agreeable to having the parking lot closed and not having access to his easement on that day. That was one of the concerns of the board when we did last discussed it. I've asked them, the organizers, to provide me copies of insurance or the appropriate certificates of insurance and an updated application. They have provided us a map. We've got the neighbors' understanding and agreement to that. So we'll proceed upon receipt of the
I
certificate.
noticed you
of
put in
insurance.
there also for the alcohol permits. But
Right,
are they
if there
even pulling
was.
that?
I don't know. It was more of if there are issued, we want to, if they're
Because-
required. Because there was still an open item about whether or not they were going to be using Liftbridge Lane West and how they were going to use it. I don't know. The village manager still is unclear on it as well. So I just put that in there as a, let's make sure everybody's got the right permits and so forth. Okay,
I had heard something that that may have changed again. But
exactly, yeah. Right.
Okay.
Okay, so that was just that matter. Provided I received their corrected application, the insurance certificates, and then a copy of any village permits, if they exist, we'll just go ahead and sign off.
So we will need a motion to approve
We've not brought these to the board before,
for use of our property.
correct? Like the Canal Days one, you don't see, the Fairport Music Festival one, you don't see. If the board wants to, we,
Okay, no,
we can look at changing that if you prefer. But we can take that up. We don't have their information yet. It's,
It's gonna be timely with you going away.
I'm returning June 6th. The festival
day
is
of the
July
week is
17th, Monday.
this, okay,
And then we have a board meeting already scheduled for the 20th.
okay. Any questions on the steel rail stuff or comments? Okay. One other
As a
item?
follow-up to our discussion of the Fairport Cannery, the change of ownership, and the meeting that the chair and I had with the new property reps, they provided this information with regard to their plan for leasing and construction at 75 North Main. And as you recall, they had an ownership change, which does require our board approval. So this is what they provided. So we'd look to see if the board finds it acceptable, and if we wanted to go ahead and provide our approval of the ownership change.
When did the property change hands? I've forgotten. Is it a while ago and they're just getting around to us?
April-ish, probably, yeah.
Forgive me for being ornery. If we gave them a pilot and I read what they wrote, some of it seemed gobbledygook to me. I mean, what happens if we go more months and there's nobody in there and yet they still have
Well,
that?
they're kind of hurting themselves in one regard,
Oh.
and in not having at least, in that their pilot clock is ticking. Because it started with the cannery, and so now it's on. They're all part of the same pilot as the cannery, and so they're losing
Free time, right?
free time on the other property. I don't know how much more we could have received, I guess, if they don't in fact have, people lined up ready to sign a lease. And even if they did, I think it would be confidential information that they're probably not too anxious to share. They may,
Gotcha.
but
Yeah, when I was reading through it, it seemed, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Ken, but it did seem fluffy to me as far as like this. I guess I anticipate something more concrete, but I don't know exactly what that would look like in the circumstances. So, felt similar when I read it, but I don't know what the ask should be.
I think part of it is we just wanted to. We're all anxious, and we've been questioning when, and they did not answer specifically when, other than that they're doing stuff. They have been working. I've noticed that when I go by, they're doing a lot of interior work, interior demolition to just kind of opens the property up for when somebody comes in and looks at it. Say, this could be your 20,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm. I don't really have any objection then, as long as everybody feels like we're okay.
So then, is that a motion to accept their?
Yes, I'll make that motion. Thank you.
Is there a second for that one?
You want it?
You want to go ahead?
I'll second it. Again, I don't know what to ask for. That would,
Yeah.
so I'll second it.
Can we add a slap on the wrist for not asking us ahead of time?
I'll second that.
In further discussion, though, maybe we can have it. I just welcome in. I don't know, Martha, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm not sure. Do you have any ideas on what we could, how we could ask them to elaborate without being difficult, but continuing kind of in the due diligence realm of a more comprehensive response or more concrete response?
Well, I would say I've made several referrals over to, since our discussion with the chair, I've made several referrals directly to Chris Schaefer about potential tenants. I've encouraged them to review their pro formas, and if there's some impediment in their pro forma that the IDA might be able to help with, that we'd be open to discussion. There's really, we can't get too far into their business. So.
Yeah, and I guess also keeping in mind that what we are approving is a consent of ownership change. It's really nothing more than that. We kind of, when we first approached this, said, well, let's use this opportunity to extract more information to be able to do what we can to move this project along, because we're disappointed in the progress of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know when we had our recent discussion on UTEP, we were having an interesting discussion about 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 stabilization of properties when we give them UTEP, and Ed was explaining to us that, commercial leases are usually 5 years, so it takes some time to build up those leases and get that stabilization. So we're still within those 5 years, right? So this feels like it's representative of that conversation we had in the governance committee.
So I guess maybe if we just, if we take a vote and it passes, that we do that, but we're asking you in your next communications with them, doesn't have to be in writing or anything really, but just say the board still would like, is anxious, and would like something more definitive.
Yes, absolutely.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any other business for IDA in this special meeting?
No.
Anyone? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.